Grace be unto you and peace from God our Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ. I was glad when they said to me, let us go into the house of the Lord. I'm Father Steve Sellers, and thank you for tuning in today for my brief message of hope. I hope that you are truly having a good day today, and if not, let's help each other. That's why God has placed us here, to be of service one to another. And having said that, let me just say I know there are a lot of people who don't believe that. You can tell by a lot of the way people are acting today that they're in this life for themselves and what they can get out of it. And we need to pray for them because at one point during this span of life that we've been given by God, we're going to have to stand before Him and give an accounting for the way we lived. And so in that context, I want to say, lift up your hearts and rejoice. I want to talk today just briefly about your top 3 priorities in life. If I were to ask you to get a sheet of paper out and list your top 3 priorities, as I do with most of the classes I teach, what would you write down? What would be your first priority? What's your third priority? And I enjoy doing that with students. I did that years ago with a junior high class, and I had a 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. I did it with all 3 classes, and I enjoyed what they wrote because there were so many young boys that their top priority was to play in the National Football League. And I said, okay, now when you write a priority, what are you willing to do to achieve that priority? And of course, so many of them never thought about what you had to do. They just wanted to be it. And so that's a problem. High school students have, by that point, realized that the National Football League or the WNBA or the professional tennis circuits are not going to be an option for a lot of them. There are people who are incredibly gifted and are willing to give up almost everything to get there. I've often told the story about the 2 Williams sisters, Venus and Serena. The way they got to the top of the world is they gave up their childhood, they gave up their adolescence, and their young adulthood. While all their friends were playing, as children were doing childhood games, they were playing tennis. While they were adolescents and everyone was having a great time going to dating and parties and hanging out and killing time, they were playing tennis. In their young adulthood years, when their friends were starting to get married and getting into jobs and buying houses, they were playing tennis. They gave up everything to become the top of the world. Most of us don't have the type of God-given talent that they have. And so it's interesting when I ask adults to write down, what are your top priorities? It's interesting to see how things change over time. More and more we lose sight of our priorities. What is of ultimate importance in our lives? And what are we willing to do to get there? We see far too many people today who want to take. Their priority in life is to take all they can get, more and bigger things and nicer toys and all of that. And that's great. But sooner or later you run out of toys or you run out of the ability to use them. And so something else has to be more important. When we list priorities, what we're really saying is what is our meaning and our purpose for being here? And a lot of people can't put it even into words why they're here. What is their goal? The truth is, and this is really what I want to tie this all up by saying, is if I had wanted to do nothing more than just, play a guitar, write songs like that one that I'm writing now, if that's all I wanted to do, I'd need to spend a whole lot more time doing it, because I've come to the point where after playing the guitar for probably 56 years now, 57 years, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. There are other priorities in my life other than standing on stage and playing a guitar. I've done that before, and my priority at one point was to play professional baseball. I put a lot of time and effort into that going through school. I made it to college, and I played 3 years of college baseball and 1 year of semi-professional baseball, but that was about it for me. I realized that there were others who had far more talent and who had far more desire to focus single-handedly and single-mindedly on that. But my priorities are different now. I have spiritual priorities. My goal today is nothing more than to provide hope and to encourage people to turn to the higher value things in life, the spiritual things, the things that God is calling us to do. And you hear me say every day, God is calling us to be kind and compassionate one to another. And I'm not just saying that because I like hearing it, although I do like hearing it. It's important that we take care of each other. Selfishness and self-centeredness has run riot and rampant in our world today, as we say in the 12-step program. And it is. You don't have to look very far to see people whose priorities sometimes, and this is sometimes happens to children and to politicians. Children think that when they develop their priorities, those are now the world's priorities. That doesn't work very well in a family, and it's hard to accomplish when you are high and lofty and lifted up in society, and you come up with priorities of your own, and you all of a sudden determine that those are now the world's priorities. Well, I'm sorry. Our best efforts right now, our very best efforts as a nation in the United States have gotten us to this point. And you keep doing more of the same, you're going to get more of the same. And so that's the definition of insanity. So I just choose to look toward the spiritual realm now. You know, I've lived most of my life probably. I have no idea how much longer the Lord has given me to live, but I'm going to make sure that I'm trying to spread hope and joy and peace. Look at your list of priorities today. Put God in there. And better yet, don't fill out the piece of paper. Ask God what His priorities are for you. Because ultimately, He's the one we stand before to give an accounting for how we've used this life that He's given us. None of us asked to be here. None of us asked to be born. And indeed, there are some 60 million babies that in this country that alone have not been born. Because they were aborted in the womb. God is pro-life, lest we forget, and we'll have to give an accounting to Him. But along the way, there is forgiveness. When we mess up, ask for help. Ask for God's forgiveness. Go talk to a priest, a pastor, a counselor. There is help available in this life as we're making our way, and it's getting more and more difficult as the world is becoming more focused inward on itself. And everyone's priorities somehow become neighborhood priorities. And sometimes if someone is passive-aggressive enough, it becomes the city's priorities. And sometimes it becomes the states and the nations and then the world's priorities. Let's look at God's priorities. He gave you the life that you have. Use it for His glory. And try to help others along the way. Life is too short. And the older I get, the more I realize that. The more I stand over people's grave and throw dirt in it, no matter how old they are, realize how short life is. Don't waste time. Turn to God. Ask Him to help you develop your priorities and help those who need help today. And no matter how bad we are, how hurt we are, how sick we are, there's always someone hurting more. There's always someone who's done worse things. There's always someone who's sicker than we are. So let's help them and let them help us. God bless you, and I hope you have a good run on your priorities today and you enjoy this life God has given you. And I will see you right back here tomorrow. God bless you.